Patrick's Landing, written by Marie D. Henry, copyrighted. Episode 8. No matter how much he assured himself the family home would withstand the storm's power, he was not completely convinced. For even in the protection of the thick woods, the large bunkhouse, built of huge logs, cracked and groaned under the wind's force whenever it managed to swirl around it. He pulled his gold-plated watch from its pocket on the front of his homespun wool pants and checked its dials in the dim glow of the oil lanterns hanging on nails driven into the logs here and there over the bunks. Its hands pointed to 7 p.m. It was time for bed. He returned the watch to its pocket while studying the other men in the bunkhouse. Some were already in bed, sound asleep, while others played cards at the table that they had pulled close to the barrel-bellied stove. There were stoves at each end of the long building and one in the middle, and when they were filled with wood and burning at full capacity, they kept the large bunkhouse warm. But he could still feel the wind pushing its way through every little crack in the chinking of the logs. He wondered how the men at the table near the stove could stand the heat that it gave off from its red-hot, iron-barreled shape. Other men sat on their bunks, talking and puffing on pipes or chewing tobacco, while scratching at different parts of their bodies to dislodge the vermin that fed on them without even thinking about their actions. Their actions, cuss words, and loud laughter all seemed to blend into one before his eyes and in his ears, and he realized that he was more tired than he was admitting to himself. He studied his fellow workers in the glow of the lantern light and wondered how they could get so lousy in a logging camp. Since he had started to spend the winters in this work and staying at camp and sharing bunkhouses with lumberjacks, men in age from their teens to 50 or more, he had come to know the feeling of being infested with lice, bedbugs, and fleas. The first winter had been a hellish experience, for the vermin's itch kept him awake all night, and he had to do his quota of work during the day. However, as the winter wore on, he too had forgotten about the bugs that sucked at him day and night and just scratched as he saw the others do and lived with it. This was his 4th winter in camp. He was 22, and he nourished a dream. That dream was to own a farm of his own. All the money he made, he saved to buy land. He did not know where yet, but of one thing he was sure. He would have a big house on it. There would be cows, horses, and other animals. He would be independent one day. He was sure of that. Another thing, and that was he would not spend the rest of his life slaving in vermin-infested logging camps in some God-forsaken corner of New Brunswick like these men around him did. He would have open fields filled with golden ripe grain around his home. He did not know when he would have it, but have it he would. He would find a place where wild irises bloomed like they did on his father's farm. That dream made the long, cold winters, lice, bedbugs, fleas, and hard work tolerable. He watched the men now remove their woolen pants and shirts and stand about in their long johns, one-piece underwears, some so dirty that they looked more gray than white. because their wearers never took the time to wash them. The cook kept a huge tub near the cookhouse, and they were permitted to heat water there to use to wash their clothing, but most of them never did. He knew they were all hard-working men, and he did not want to feel the disgust that rose up in his throat, but he could not stop it. He slipped out of his own woolen work clothes and in his long johns slipped under the woolen blankets that covered his bunk. He lay listening to the roar of the storm in the forest surrounding the campsite. There was still a lot of talking and laughing going on, and that kept him awake. After an hour of trying to go to sleep, he gave up and sat up on his bunk again. He wrapped the heavy blanket around his shoulders and leaned against the log wall. He filled his pipe with tobacco from the leather pouch he kept in the pocket of his heavy wool shirt that his mother had made for him during the past summer. His thoughts drifted back to her and how hard she worked. He could see her sitting at her loom making the fabric that now kept him warm in the cold weather of December. His heart swelled with love. The end. I'm going to try to put up an episode more often. Thank you for watching.